What's going on, my fellow Jedi apprentices? Today we're going to be going over Star Wars and the Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire by Kempshall. I'm excited to talk about this book, though slightly disappointed. I gave this book 3.25 out of 5 stars, so somewhat good. A lot to like, a lot to dislike. This book is not for everybody, but you should read this book if you are a Star Wars nerd that has extensive knowledge of both the known universe and the expanded universe. And if it sounds interesting that a Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire is done from an academic, historian, nonfiction style of writing and perspective, definitely read this book. But you're not really going to enjoy this book if you don't have extensive knowledge of the Star Wars universe, especially the expanded universe. And also, if you don't want to read Star Wars in a nonfiction kind of read. So let's just get right into it. And I think it's quite frosty out here, but you know, if we're Jedi apprentices, we have to find a way to make it through, right? So I'll start off with the highest rated category, plot and structure. I gave plot and structure 4 out of 5 stars. There's a lot to love here. It's the whole idea and concept is super cool, right? And I'm a Star Wars nerd myself, though I haven't read all of the expanded universe and don't have knowledge on all of the extended universe characters and plot lines and these kinds of things. The idea is that you have a historian after the sequels, the sequels we do not acknowledge, that is trying to write how did the Galactic Empire rise and how did it fall from like a historian perspective. This concept in itself is super cool, and Star Wars nerds will love this book. Absolutely. You're going to have a lot to love. If you're a Star Wars nerd that consumes every little bit of Star Wars material, you're really going to enjoy this book because there's a lot of cool stuff happening here. For example, is going into the themes of how the Galactic Empire was able to do certain things, the economic things, how was it able, intelligence-wise, to do certain things? How was it able to, have control of so many different planets and deal with the rebellion and these kinds of things? There's a lot of cool stuff in that way. So in terms of plot and structure, and I like, it's pretty straightforward, but it started mostly from the prequels-ish to, dare I say, the new sequels. So in that sense, there's a lot to love. Next, because this is a non-fiction kind of read, there's not really any room to rate characters, so we'll just go on to the next highest rate category, which is world building. I gave that 3.5 out of 5. Definitely added to the universe. I think Disney, the one thing is done right. Andor is my favorite Star Wars material of all time by far, and they have done a good job with the book aspect of this, where they're really going more in depth into the Galactic Empire, what it means to be a part of the Galactic Empire, what does it mean to be like a common person, part of the rebellion, these kinds of themes, and all of these different the moral implications of a rebellion, what does it mean if you're a normal person in the Galactic Empire. With Andor and with the books here, Disney's doing a good job. So I have to give credit where credit is due, and I do think this adds to it, though I don't think it will be for everybody. Next on, let's go to pros. The book average, don't have a lot to say. I think the writer took, with the themes, it was done excellently. And the structure, and the writing is done exactly like how an academic could write. One really cool detail is there's even footnotes, and that's just super, super cool. And I do it's cool connecting the dots sometimes. I'm like, oh, for example, in Andor, when, what's her name? I'm forgetting her name. Biz is tortured with the sounds of the whales. Reading this book, there was a whole section dedicated to Empire genocide, how the Empire committed genocide and these kinds of things, and I picked up on that, and I was like, oh, okay, I see why this is in the book. And that was these kinds of things are super cool. But maybe actually I'm going to change my mind on the spot here. I think this is definitely a 3.5 out of 5. Just the difficulty to be able to write something in this way when you're kind of doing it in a fictional universe, I have to give that actually 3.5 out of 5. So next we're going to have fun. 3.25 out of 5. I had a good time enjoying this book. I'm a Star Wars nerd, but the thing that's holding back this book the most, and I have to go on a little rant here, are the sequels. The sequels are just so, not to become a Star Wars hater and become just a negative Nancy, but the sequels are just so bad logically. It did so much to destroy the known universe, the logic of the universe, the plot elements. Like, it took away meaning for so many different things. And you see it here. It's very apparent. Like, the worst line in the Star Wars sequels is somehow Palpatine is back. The book has to do it in the same way because there's no knowledge of how Palpatine got back. It wasn't thought through. It wasn't thought about in any way. It wasn't thought of in any logical way. I really wish they didn't exist because it's just so stupid, and there was so much to work with to create, you know, like to work with here. Like, imagine, like, you know, the fall of the Empire doesn't mean the start of something grand and beautiful. It would have been very difficult starting the Jedi again. Like, there's all these kinds of things that could have been done really, really well, and it's just so frustrating to read this. And thankfully, there's not a whole lot dedicated to this for obvious reasons, because there's not a whole lot that can be done with that, and it's so frustrating because just Exegol, the 1 million Star Destroyers that just came out of nowhere. All of those sequels, honestly, they should all be thrown in Galactic prison, all of the writers and all of the producers of the sequels. It's just absolute dumpster juice. And that's what holds back this book. I hate to say it, but it comes out sometimes, and it's the frustration aspect really does ruin the fun and sometimes the reading experience for me. Just being honest, if the sequels didn't exist, this would definitely be higher, but that's just the reality. But what can we do? And the last category is going to be emotional impact. I mean, also I would put this as NA because we have emotional impact for nonfiction, but I gave this 2.25 out of 5, and that's just because it kind of reads as a nonfiction, but there were some really, really well-written aspects of the Galactic Empire's power and seeing how different species had to deal with that. So again, cool stuff, cool addition to the expanded universe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, this is not going to be for everybody, but Star Wars nerds will love it. And God, please, can we start a petition to get rid of the sequels? Because it's just, as the years go by, you know, that anger kind of just simmers, but it's just so bad, so bad. But if you haven't watched Andor, arguably the best piece of Star Wars. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you so much.